Welcome back. Let's talk about the last period left in the Paleozoic, the Permian. You know what? I haven't said this enough. I don't know if I've ever said it. I'm going to say it. I'm proud of you. You've done great work. You've rolled with the punches. You're almost there. Right? Just a few more units to go. Hang on. You can do it. I'm proud of you. I love you. Let's finish strong. Okay. So, Pangea finally forms during the Permian. As Pangea forms, a lot of land is exposed, and a lot of it is very, 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 very dry. As we're coming out of the Permian, drop in oxygen, rise in carbon dioxide, we are going to get an extinction event. So again, Pangea formed. Reptiles really replace amphibians in abundance and dominance. An increase in oxygen allowed animals to kind of grow bigger initially in the Permian. So Pangea was the name of the land. The name of the ocean, Panthalassa, marine organisms, were still thriving and still there. Temperatures were extreme. Climate was dry. So temperatures, extreme highs, extreme lows. The climate was very dry. Plants and animals evolved adaptations to deal with the dryness during the period. Waxy leaves, leathery skin, all help to prevent water loss. And the Permian ends with a mass extinction. Not only just a mass extinction, but kind of the mass extinction. So, coming back, where did I talk about it? On land. Hold on. So on land, again, reptiles finally started to come to kind of really fruition and abundance. These are some examples. This is an example of a reptile named Dimetrodon. It is not a dinosaur. It is a reptile, but it is not a dinosaur. We still have a bunch of stuff going on in the oceans, but with the extinction event, a lot of things are going to change on land and in the oceans. So speaking of land, Pangea forms. The meeting of all of the continents created very dry, very arid conditions on Earth and what was land. Only portions of Pangea actually received any rainfall, just because of the vast size of it. Hold on, there's a cat walking around down here. Stop that. When Pangea formed, it reduced a whole lot of shoreline and coastal areas, plus coastal marine habitats disappeared. A possible cause, a small percentage of why things went extinct heavily during this time period. So again, Pangea, very dry, very arid for the most part. Extreme temperatures, really hot, really cold. So there was really only a sweet spot of a few areas where organisms lived during this time. One of those was the amniotes. We talked about the amniotic egg. So when we're talking about the rise of the amniotes, I'm talking about those that produce an amniotic egg. Under arid conditions, these types of organisms began to dominate Earth. For instance, reptiles and a number of other organisms that had amniotic eggs, especially with the dry, arid environment. Synapsids became common. Plant-eating synapsids like the Edaphosaurus, as well as the meat-eating Dimetrodon. Both are often mistaken to be dinosaurs, which they are not. In one of those pictures that I just showed you was the Dimetrodon. I think I just had some things in the wrong spot. I think it was supposed to come after this slide. But in any case, the first dinosaur didn't appear until the Triassic, which is the Mesozoic era. The Triassic period comes after the Permian. So even though we have reptiles during this time period, we didn't have any dinosaurs as are defined. by the mid-Permian, other amniote groups appeared, the rhapsids, which eventually evolved into mammals. So here's the Edaphosaurus. This is the plant-eating reptile that evolved. And here's the Dimetrodon, meat-eating reptile that evolved. So Dimetrodon, Edaphosaurus, you can see how they largely are compared to a human. So as we end the Permian, we get into not only unextinction, but the extinction. 96% of all life gone. 96%. 96% of life gone. Can you imagine that if that happened now? If 96% of all people went away. 96% of cats went away. I joke. This was actually a very short extinction. Some scientists think the extinction lasted as little as 60 kiloyears. Kiloannum, the small K stands for kilo, which means 1,000. So some scientists think that this extinction lasted as little as 60,000 years, which is very, very fast for extinctions. The extinction event was so prolific, 96% of life gone. The nickname of this extinction is called the Great Dying, which is very aptly named, especially if 96% of life died off. So possible causes related to this extinction was volcanic activity and or climate change. This extinction devastated both ocean and land alike, whereas some of the past maybe we had more oceans, since that's where the majority of things were. And it's the only event to have nearly wiped out all insects. It wiped out a bunch of insects, but this was the only event to have nearly wiped out insects. We could have not had insects based on the Great Dying. In the sea, trilobites, the last remaining ones, finally succumbed. So the trilobites kind of die off in the Permian. They don't make it into the Mesozoic era, along with some forms of sharks, bony fish, some forms of corals as well. But again, many groups suffered heavy losses. It wasn't just kind of, again, in the ocean, it was in the ocean and on land. In fact, on land, 70% of all land species went extinct. Plants, animals, insects. It was a pretty great dying. And what we're seeing is glaciation, and probably one of the most important things is this quick spike in carbon dioxide. This may be the smoking gun. So it's rare to have an extinction of both marine and terrestrial organisms. To do that, you have to have some large-scale change, and most likely climate change is to thank for this great dying. Even though the precise cause of the Great Dying is unknown, the scientific consensus is that the main extinction was actually volcanic eruptions. So you had widespread volcanic eruptions in what is now modern-day Siberia, northern Russia, that released vast amounts of sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide. So we see that spike in carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. The more carbon dioxide we put into the atmosphere, like what we're doing now, causes the planet to heat up and climates to change. Places that are dry get drier, places that are wet get wetter, places that are hot get hotter. It's kind of how climate change works. It really drives the extremes. So we have more carbon, higher temperatures, and now we have more carbon in the atmosphere. And that gets cycled into the ocean as well. So that carbon, as it's cycled into the ocean, mixes with water to become carbonic acid, so we start to acidify the oceans, which aid in also killing off organisms. The level of atmospheric carbon dioxide rose from about 400 parts per million to 2,500 parts per million. That's over 6 times more carbon in the atmosphere due to these volcanic eruptions. Again, because changes in greenhouse gases like CO2 can have substantial effects on the climate, sudden increase in gases would have a detrimental effect on many species of Earth. before we get too far into it, let me give you another part of the super secret code. It is the number 0. You got me? The number 0. One more time, number 0. And finally, because Pangea is pretty much from the North Pole down to the South Pole, conditions were appropriate for polar ice caps and glaciers, which evidence shows that there is. And then so if we, again, making glaciers, if we're making ice, then we're dropping sea level as well. So, dropping the sea level, changing the climate due to volcanic activity, nasty stuff. This is what kind of led to, again, the Great Dying. You can see that this is the length of this is the longest, and how kind of fast this occurred. And crying noise went away, some forms of coral, amongst other things, and the Permian. So here is kind of a artist rendition of some of the polar ice caps, which again were lower sea levels, climates changing due to volcanic activity in what is now modern-day Siberia, northern Russia. Changing the climate causes both land and sea animals and sea life to die. All right, I think that brings us to kind of the end of the Paleozoic. We've talked about the Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Mississippi, and Pennsylvania, Permian. It's been fun. When we come back next unit, we'll talk about the Mesozoic and look at the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. This is when dinosaurs come to be. There's additional extinction events that are occurring during the Mesozoic. So those are some fun things we'll get to talk about in the next coming weeks. So we've covered the first part of the Phanerozoic eon, known as the Paleozoic era, and that's where we're going to end it. It's been my honor, it's been my pleasure. Until next time.